Wait, hold up. You are pregnant and you are still bleeding every month like it's your period. Is that even possible, or is your body just playing tricks on you? A lot of women, swear they had their periods throughout pregnancy, but doctors will tell you something different. So today we are breaking it down: why you might bleed when you are pregnant, what it actually means, and when you should be concerned. Stay tuned because this is one topic every woman needs to understand, okay? So the big question is, can you really have a period while pregnant? Let's clear the hair first. If you are truly pregnant, you cannot have a real menstrual period. Why? Because menstruation happens when your body releases an unfertilized egg and shed the uterine lining. But once you are pregnant, that egg has already been fertilized and implanted. Your body is no longer shedding the lining, it's holding onto it to support your baby. So technically, periods and pregnancy do not mix. But here's the twist: many women report what they think are periods during pregnancy. What they are actually experiencing is pregnancy related bleeding, which can happen for different reasons. And depending on when it happens, it could be normal or sign to rush to the hospital. Then, secondly, is why do women think they are still having periods? Here's the thing: our brain are wired to think bleeding from the vagina equals period. But in pregnancy, bleeding can be caused by other things. Some of these are harmless, others can be serious. Let's break them down. First one is implantation bleeding. It happens very early, usually 10 to 14 days after conception. Looks like light spotting, pinkish or brownish or heavy red flow. Some women mistake it for a short period, especially if it happens around the time they expect their cycle. Usually harmless and one of the first signs of pregnancy. Second is hormonal changes. In the early stage of pregnancy, hormones may not stabilize immediately. This can cause light bleeding around the time you normally menstruate. Doctors sometimes call it decidual bleeding, and it's not uncommon. The third is cervical sensitivity. Pregnancy increases blood flow to the cervix, sometimes as simple as sex. A pelvic exam or even constipation strain can cause light spotting. It looks scary, but it's usually harmless. Let's talk about when it's not normal. Now, this is the part where I need you to listen carefully, because while some bleeding is harmless, other types are serious and can threaten your pregnancy. The first one is miscarriage warning. Heavy bleeding with clots, severe cramp, and back pain can be an early sign of miscarriage. About 10 to 20% of known pregnancies end in miscarriage, often in the first trimester. If bleeding is heavy and accompanied by pain, you need immediate medical attention. Then the second one is ectopic pregnancy. This happens when a fertilized egg implants outside of the uterus, usually in the fallopian tube. Symptoms are sharp pelvic pain, shoulder pain, dizziness, and heavy bleeding. It's a life-threatening condition that requires urgent treatment. Then the third one is placenta problem. This happens in second or third trimester. Placenta previa. Placenta covers the cervix. Painless bleeding later in pregnancy. Placenta abruption. Placenta separate from the uterus early. Painful, heavy bleeding, and medical emergency. So now let's talk real life stories. Why the confusion? You've probably heard women say, I was pregnant for months and still saw my period. But in reality, most of these cases are not real menstrual cycles. For example, a Nigerian woman shared her story online. She bled lightly every month during her first trimester. So she didn't know she was pregnant until her belly grew. Another woman in the US thought she had her period for 3 months straight, only to later discover it was light spotting caused by hormonal fluctuations. The confusion comes because the bleeding often lines up with their regular cycle dates. making it feel exactly like a period. So now let's look at the key differences between a period and pregnancy bleeding. So how do you know if what you are experiencing is a period or pregnancy bleeding? For flow, periods are usually heavier. For pregnancy bleeding is often light and spotting. In color, period blood tends to be bright red and then darkens. For pregnancy, bleeding may be pink, brown, or rusty. Duration, a period lasts for 3 to 7 days. Pregnancy bleeding is often shorter. So for symptom, period comes with PMS, cramps, bloating, mood swings. Pregnancy spotting may not have this, but here's the bottom line. You can't rely on guessing. Always get checked. So when you should worry is this. Here's the golden rule. Bleeding in pregnancy should never be ignored. It may be harmless, but it can also be a red flag. So if you are pregnant and notice any kind of bleeding, heavy, light, brown, or red, talk to your healthcare provider immediately. Doctors usually recommend ultrasound scan to check the baby, blood tests to measure hormone levels, then physical exam to rule out complications. Let's talk about medical advice versus old wives' tales. In many cultures, especially across Africa, women often say it's normal to have your period while pregnant, but this is not medically correct. Science shows what they are calling a period is usually just pregnancy related bleeding. So, for the old myths, some say the baby is washing itself, others say it means the pregnancy is not strong. Some even believe it's a sign of twins. But the medical truth is, if you are bleeding during pregnancy, it is not your period and it needs attention. What to do if you bleed while pregnant? So, what you should do is, if you notice bleeding while expecting, don't panic. Not all bleeding is dangerous. Track it, note the color, flow, and timing. Avoid sex and heavy activities until your doctor gives the green light, okay? Then the fourth thing is seek immediate help if bleeding is heavy, accompanied by pain or makes you feel dizzy or faint. So let's wrap this up. Can you be pregnant and still have your period? The short scientific answer is no, but you can experience bleeding during pregnancy for many reasons. Some harmless, some serious. The key is not to assume it's just a period and move on. If you are pregnant and bleeding, always get checked by a healthcare professional, okay? And remember, every pregnancy is unique. Your body might not act like your sisters, your moms, or your neighbors. So stay informed, listen to your body, and don't ignore the signs, okay? If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content on women, health, faith, and wellness. And let me know in the comments, have you or someone you know experienced bleeding during pregnancy? Let's talk about it, okay? Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.